Welcome to the Romantasy Readers Podcast. As always, I'm here with Nicole and I'm Allie. But today we have an extra special episode with an extra special guest. We are interviewing author Emberly Ash about her series. Welcome, Emberly.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, you are actually our first author interview, so we are so excited. Yes, we're so excited that you agreed to do this. When I read your book, I just loved it. I was just so I just loved it. I've always loved King Arthur. And of course I love Fae and I love Romantasy. So listeners, if you're like, do I listen to this episode? You just heard Fae, Romantasy, King Arthur. It's pretty exciting.
And a very hot MMC and very hot spice. So right there, I'm so glad Allie got me onto this because I haven't found many good sort of indie authors like that, where the quality's been there. And I was just like, wow, this is just like reading at Jennifer Armentrout or, as just everything that I love about my fantasy romantasy books. I'm just like, it's just here and I'm just loving it. I'm currently in the middle of Throne of Air and Darkness and woo, it's so good.
Yeah, the spice is spicing in these.
The spice is spicing. That's a really good way to put it. The spice is spicing.
Yes. I mean, if it's not spicy, why?
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm here for the spice.
Us too.
Exactly. There's nothing more disappointing than when you get into a book and it might be a great story, but if there is not some spice between my main two characters, I'm just disappointed. Like, there's just like that optimum level of spice, and even just a little bit more than that is even better. But like, that's just the icing. It's got to be there. It's just not the same without it.
It's like it gets the momentum, it really gets you, like, because then you can just, like, I just read so much faster when there's spice because I'm like, okay, I got it, they got it, they got to get together. Okay, they're together, but now, like, what's gonna happen? So
I do not understand readers who do like closed door modifications who will be like, okay, skip chapter 36 because it's a spicy scene. I'm just like, why? Like, that's the best part. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yes, universally when I poll readers, I remember when I was first writing this book, I had sent out to my newsletter because I had a few hundred people on my newsletter at the time, and I asked, how many spicy scenes do you like in a book? Like 1 to 2, 3 to 5, 6 or 7. I think every single person answered 10 plus. Like, and I was like, okay, so the bar is up here. Here we go. And I don't think I've managed to get 10 into a book yet, but it's aspirational. Someday it's going to happen.
I'm sure it's a fine line between giving us the slow burn, because we've got to have a little slow burn so it's really satisfying. But then once it kicks in, it's got to be like all on like Donkey Kong. Like every time they're in a bedroom, like boom, there you go. Like that's the
not
ideal.
in a bedroom.
Exactly.
Or not in a bedroom. Even better. Honestly, for me, even better when they're not in a bedroom.
Right? Right?
I'm just saying. Yeah. I really like when they're not in a bedroom.
And one of the things about Crown of Earth and Sky is it is not really a huge slow burn, right? Like they're going for it pretty early on. It's an emotional slow burn, right? Like they're not there emotionally, but man, are they there in the bedroom.
Well, you just can't fight that chemical attraction, we can understand that. We can get that. And, that emotion can come later. It's totally fine. Like,
yeah. So I realized we should have said this at the top of the episode, but, in true Romantasy Readers fashion, we got on a tangent. This episode is going to be, for the most part, spoiler-free, especially around, like, plot details and kind of what happens. So if you have not yet read these books, that's totally okay. We're not going to spoil anything for you, but we wanted to interview Emberly and give her the chance to talk about her books that we love so much. But don't worry if you haven't read them yet. And if you haven't read them yet, listen to this episode and then go pick them up right away. So, I was like, oh, right, we were going to say that this was spoiler free. And then we forgot. Classic us.
We got there. We got there in the end.
We
Everyone.
got there eventually. That's what matters. Yeah, that's what matters. Okay, so we're going to kick off the first question, and I think this will be good to give readers a sense of, kind of what they think the book might be about, or what they might like in it. So, do you feel like there are any comparable books that you kind of typically use to describe your book, to be like, oh, it's kind of like this, it's kind of like this?
So on the no spice thing, I like most romantasy readers. I'm a huge SJM fan.
Yes.
And right, like I was a fan before I started a romantasy fan before I started writing this. And so I my favorite series of hers is actually Throne of Glass.
Oh my god, I was
However,
about to say, is it Throne of Glass? Because
it
I
is.
feel like this
It
is
is,
so
but Throne of
similar.
Glass, what it doesn't have is the spice, right? It's
Yes.
very YA, and so, um, in my mind, I love a lot of the elements of Throne of Glass, this really epic hero's journey, this enemies to lovers,
Yes.
this her fight, this really sassy heroine who is a warrior right from the get-go, all these things, but I just wanted it to be so much spicier, and so if you read Throne of Glass and thought, "Wow, I love this, but where is all the sex?" Then this series is definitely for you. It's like, Throne of Glass meets Scarlet St. Clair, like, and
Yes.
that's, I think, the best way to describe it, so
I
and
love
it's
that you
going to
said
be
that. Yeah,
yeah, it's
because
gonna
I
be 4
thought
books, so it's getting up there in
yeah.
length too.
I
Okay.
felt like this was so similar to Throne of Glass. I think because the world, it's kind of because it does have that King Arthur kind of English history kind of feel, castles and things like that, which you kind of had in Throne of Glass and obviously and in these books. So that was definitely one of the theories that I thought that this was most similar to. So it's so exciting to hear that that was obviously a big sort of inspiration for you. But adding a whole ton of spice that, we did miss out on in quite a number of those books.
And adding characters that are a bit more mature, obviously with the spice, but I think a bit more mature as well in like their emotional journeys and kind of, I mean, obviously our main character is sassy, maybe has some growth, wouldn't be a good book if they didn't
Yeah.
need to grow a little bit. But I think she's just like, she starts off a little bit more mature than maybe like
Mhm.
Selena does in Throne of Glass.
Yeah, I mean, I read a lot of romantasy with a young heroine who's finding her way and is kind of naive. And like Veka is not that. Like
No.
she is a hard ass
Mhm.
um from day one. And so there are no she, she certainly grows and learns. There's things she has to learn and grow into as a person and as a queen, but she doesn't come into the world with any kind of naivete, right? Because she's been through it. By the time we meet
Mhm.
her at 25, like she's been through it.
Yeah,
So that was
Absolutely.
kind of I didn't have time for that heroine who needed to grow up.
yeah.
I
She's
love
not a
that.
pharaoh in any
No.
Yeah.
sense of the word.
No, no.
Yeah.
I love that she's 25 and that she has already identified, like she's got her identity. She knows who she is. She knows where her strength is. She loves the fact that, she's really all about, physical strength, about, her sword fighting and her ability to, protect herself just with her strength. And as you say, she really knows who she is. This is not a journey of her being innocent, naive, and then learning it along the way. It's more like she's a tough cookie and someone actually needs to break that exterior to kind of
Exactly.
find the softer side inside.
Yeah.
Exactly. You gotta find her heart. She has a good heart, but it's like you gotta shovel past some things to get there.
Yeah. And I love that because it's almost like in a lot of series, it's the MMC that has that, is like that has the hard exterior. And Aaron is also
Not a
like
softie.
not a
Also has a tough
softie.
exterior.
Yeah, but I do think that he in the beginning is actually much more emotionally vulnerable than Veka is, and I love that. Like, I love that it's a little bit different. You get to see, him being the one that's sort of pushing her to share her feelings, to be emotional, to sort of acknowledge what's between them. Um, yeah, that's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil anymore, but it's great.
All right.
Yeah.
So, next question is around the fact that you've obviously written this whole story with that King Arthur inspiration. And what made you want to write a story that was inspired by that King Arthur mixed with the Fey world? Tell us about that.
Oh, well, I went through a King Arthur phase as a teenager where I just read a whole lot of King
Me
Arthur
too.
books. Um, and so it was something I had a background for it. It was something that I wasn't seeing a lot of, right? You see a lot of Beauty and the Beast, a lot of Hades and Persephone.
Yes.
Even now, like Little Mermaid, like there's a lot of like kind of not fad, right? Because they're retellings, so they're not fads by definition. But there's a lot more popular retellings out there. And I wasn't seeing a lot of King Arthur. And so I thought, wow, like this might be like a story that people haven't heard. And I actually had the concept kind of the story before I decided to make it a King Arthur retelling. And so it is very much not like a direct retelling, right? Like Arthur. I wouldn't want to spoil things, but it's not direct, but if you are familiar with the lore, there are a lot of elements that are drawn in, and that just gets deeper as you go into the other books. And what I think is interesting, I mean, I find it interesting as I write it, is that there's a lot of things that I think people don't realize are Arthur references, unless you were like a huge Arthur nerd before. So it's just a very rich lore. There's a lot to draw from. And I wrote Fae because I like Fae. And the best
Yes.
part of being an author is like getting to write the stories that you want to read. So I like Fae, so I wrote Fae.
I am also had a teenage King Arthur obsession phase. I read The Once and Future King when I was in the 6th grade. Maybe I was a little too young for
Oh,
that, but
definitely too young.
whatever.
This is
My
kindergarten
reading level, yeah,
Sorry.
in the States they give you this reading level and you have to like read books in that level, but like when you're in elementary school, if you're a good reader, they don't have a lot of books at your level. So I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm reading.
This
And then I
was me as a
reread it
child too. This is why I started reading historical romances on my
because
mom's
there's
shelf
a lot
at
of it
like
available.
10 because
Yeah.
I had a high reading level and I was like, well, let me just grab these.
I'm also pretty sure I read Gone with the Wind that same year as a 6th grader, and, like, somebody that is also probably what started my, like, enemies to lovers, like, romantasy obsession. Someone probably should have, like, been checking what I was reading as a 12-year-old, but oh well, here we are. And then I reread that book in the 9th grade, and then I even wrote, like, my 10th grade term paper over the Lady in the Lake poem. Like, I
Funny.
love King Arthur. And so I loved like all the tiny little details in this series. And I loved like the moments where it's like, okay, you're subverting the trope or you're not subverting the trope or you have, it was so cool. So, and it's great because it's one of those books where if you are a huge King Arthur fan, you can really get into the tropes. But if you don't know anything about King Arthur, it's still like a
It's
great
still
series, right?
awesome
Like you can
anyway.
actually enjoy it.
You're
Like,
still going to see the highlights, right? You still have the Round Table, you have Guinevere, you have Excalibur, like you have the Sword in the Stone
exactly.
moment. You still have those things that you're going to recognize as like the classic King Arthur.
The classics, yeah.
But not, you're not going to get the references of the White Hart or Gwen giving the table or these different things, right? That
Yeah.
are from the actual lore.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
Totally.
I'm gonna have to go and research now because I know about King Arthur, but I don't like know about it. Like you guys are just talking about a few things, and I'm like, whoa, over my head. But I know Excalibur, I know Guinevere, I know the Round Table, I know all the major stuff. And yeah, so as I said, for me, I'm still 100% enjoying this. It's still got the Fae, the spice, it's got this nice little shake up of the castle and the sword. And yeah, so it really doesn't matter. It sounds like both kinds of readers will love this, whether you have
Definitely.
a huge amount of knowledge of King Arthur or whether you just have, you've watched that Sword in the Stone from Disney back 20 years ago and and now you're reading this.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's for everybody. I think it's accessible at any point as long as you like spice.
Yeah, as long as you like spice. Okay, without giving too many spoilers, do you
Oh
feel like
God.
there was a scene that was the hardest for you to write? Um, what are or like generally what are the hardest scenes for you to write? Like
The easiest to write are when Aaron and Veka are bickering.
Mm.
Um, the
that just like kind of comes
hardest,
naturally. Yeah.
yes, that stuff comes naturally. The hardest scene is probably in the water gardens when they're both kind of
Mm.
sharing about their trauma.
Yes.
Um, because there are some trigger warnings in this book. Check the trigger warnings. Take care of yourself. And they've seen some shit. And so writing that scene where they're both very vulnerable, right? Like it had to happen because that's a huge emotional moment for them and a huge
Yep.
moment of understanding for them. But I think anytime that you're dealing with like a trauma or abuse situation, right, you have to write that right. Like you have to
Yeah.
write that well. And so um I wrote it. I had friends read it. Any of the scenes that like directly deal with the trauma and abuse situations in their past are the most read by my poor author friends, which is kind of sad for them. But you want to get those things right, and I've had a fair number of readers reach out to me and say like, wow, this thank you for the representation of like grief and depression and the mental health rep in this book, and
Mhm.
so that tells
Amazing.
me I got it right and makes me a little less scared writing those scenes going forward, but you know
That's That's so good. And I think it is true. You do explore how someone's going through trauma and their process through it, which I imagine is quite
Mhm.
challenging because you really have to get into how that character, what has happened to them, how they're processing it, what they're doing, because they're not always having, I guess, what you consider is a typical reaction to trauma. And to actually get into that, identify how that character is processing it and then their way through it, I think it's awesome that you've obviously done it justice to put it past a few other authors and take your time just to really nail how that was delivered. But I think you did it beautifully. I think it was
Yeah.
really well
Thank you.
represented. I really connected with it, and I'm sure other readers have as well.
I mean, there's lots of feminine rage in this book, and I think sometimes people get turned off. Readers sometimes are like, Vega is an angry person. And I'm like, yeah, we're women. We've been wronged. We deserve to be angry. So,
100%.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right.
Nicole,
Well,
you
all
have
right. So we'll get on to the next question, which is a little bit easier than that question. Do you have a favorite character? Do you have the person who's your absolute favorite in your book? Who do you love?
no spoilers. Who do I love? I love Kiara. Because she is like the friend who tells you the hard truths you don't want to hear.
Mhm.
And so it's fun to hear her be um she doesn't chastise Veka, right? Because she still doesn't see herself as an equal to the queen, but she like pushes, I think, more than almost any other character on her. And so that's fun to write because it's we all have that friend or that person in our life that holds up the mirror for us. And it's a hard truth, but you love that person, and so she's fun to write. But like the character who's closest to my heart is Paris. He's just like
Aw,
such like a like warm cinnamon roll, happy
he's the
friend.
Yeah.
best. He's
I
like,
just want to
and
hang
without
out with
giving too much
him.
away, he's sort of an interesting character because when we're first introduced to him, he sort of just seems like a bit of a hot piece of ass on the side. But then we get to know that he's
Yes.
actually pretty smart. Like he's pretty smart. He
Yeah.
does all the research, and like Baker maybe had some reasons for keeping him around as a little toy boy. Like it actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like I just want to hang out with him in the library and eat treats and see what he's getting up to.
I want
Like,
him to be my, like, bestie, you know? Like, I wanna hang
right.
out with him in the library, I wanna eat food, I wanna drink wine, I wanna read books, like
All right. I'm going to sidetrack here and I'm going to bring up something I was going to talk about in a tick, which is about the food that you talk about in your book. Now, if I'm not frothing over the male characters in your book, I'm frothing over the food you have in your book. So in most of like the romantasy fantasy books that I read, the general food options are like porridge, stew, rabbit, berries maybe.
Or
Like, it's
they're like a block of cheese and a chunk of bread, and because they're on the road, like you're
exactly.
like, okay, that's appetizing.
But in this, oh no, it is chocolate croissants. It is scones with jam and cream. It is like crusty bread with salted butter. I am hungry reading this book. Like,
So what's funny about this book, right, is that Veka is a plus size character, but she works out. I mean, she trains so hard. And one of my author friends, I was talking back and forth with her about this, and she's like, if Veka's gonna have to eat, like she's gonna have to eat, like she's gonna have to have a lot of calories coming in if she's working out this much. And I was like, you know what? She is gonna have to eat. And so a lot of my favorite foods are Veka's favorite foods, unsurprisingly.
well, I love it. And you know what? I have brought along a special surprise today in honor. Right, I have brought a chocolate croissant and an almond croissant because I couldn't decide between the two. And I keep being hungry for croissants every time I read this book. So,
oh my God, I love it. I literally, I have a favorite bakery here in Seattle, and I drove last week in the middle of this work day to go get a chocolate croissant because I was writing, and I was like, I need this right now. So it happens to me too.
I am a chocolate croissant girly. I love a good chocolate croissant, but I also love like cheese and bread and like wine and all the other things that Vega mentioned. So I was also like loved it.
Yes.
All right,
they're always eating.
okay, so which one am I going to eat now, guys? Which one do you want me to have a bite of and tell you which one's better? The almond croissant or the chocolate croissant? What's the choice?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. I think
Chocolate.
you
All
have
right.
to.
It has to be chocolate.
Yeah.
All right, let's give it a try. All right.
Report back.
We're doing ASMR
Oh my
on the
God.
podcast.
It's so good. Let me just do some nails.
Yeah,
Like,
crinkle it in front of the microphone.
Ooh.
Now I'm just
So,
jealous.
I know. I wish I had thought of that. It is a little bit later here. It's like dinner time for me. So I can't really have a chocolate croissant. I mean, I could just eat a chocolate croissant for dinner, but
you can always have a chocolate croissant. You know what I had yesterday? And this is all because I've been reading this book, right? I've just been craving croissants. I had a pistachio raspberry almond croissant.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
Yum.
That's just like, I was like, oh my God, yes, please. Thank you very much. Like, that's amazing.
That sounds really good.
So Veka is inspiring me.
I literally just ate some pretzels before because I was like, oh, I need a snack. Let me like
I know. I'm like I ate a Lara bar like right before this. Like not the delicious like sauces and like pasta and cream and things that Vega gets to eat.
I read this book and then I'm hungry and then I go to my fridge and it's just not as exciting as the food that Veka's eating. I'm just like, oh, I want to be in that world. I want all these yummy food options. Someone just hand it to me.
Right? Me too.
Definitely.
All right. Something I would love to talk about, which is obviously a huge part of your creation of Veka, is that she is a plus size main character. Ooh. Yes, which I love so much. And you talk about her as having these luscious, thick curves. What inspired you to create Veka as a curvy plus size FMC?
Well, I think we all have read enough willowy, slender Fae FMCs. And I mean, really, there's two things, right? The first is that there's like this perception, right, that plus size women aren't strong or fit or powerful. And I just like hate that because that's not true. And then the second thing I think is that there's like this sense that plus size women are not worshipped and adored and like having amazing sex. And that is also not true. true. And so as a plus size woman, I wanted to see those things. And again, like the brilliant part about being an author is that you get to write the stories that you want to see in the world. And so I wanted an FMC who was powerful and strong and was going to have oh, sorry, I almost spoiled a little bit there, and going to have a partner who worshiped that body, who was like in love with her curves. And I think at some some points maybe I go overboard, but I really, she Allie's like,
No,
it's
no,
not
you
overboard.
don't go overboard. It's
It's not
perfect.
overboard. But right, like Erin is hot for those curves. And I think that all women of all shapes and sizes deserve to see themselves represented, right? And in the books we read and in fantasy and romantasy, I just wasn't seeing that. And so I wrote it and I loved it.
Ah,
And I love how people respond to it. It's like the thing that gets picked out the most. And that just like warms my little
Yeah.
heart.
I love it. I love it. I mean, first of all, there is such a movement right now. And I think you're right. Like 10, 20 years ago, it was nothing but the wayfish kind of main character. And she was always like, oh, I forgot to eat for a month. Now I'm skeletal. Like, it's so nice to be seeing more main characters coming in. And it's not just yours. I mean, we're seeing it with some others
Yeah.
as well. These more curvaceous characters and these, main male characters just loving it, just loving the curves. And it's right. Like, it's not like you have to be a certain size to be loved or appreciated. And I have so many people in my real life that one of my best friends runs a non-airbrush me movement, which is all about plus
Mm.
size, body positivity. She has a plus size modeling agency. So I know how important it is for so many women to have this representation. And but I also just love the language you used in it. Like, you make it sound so hot and sexy. It's like, yes, she's got these thick curves and he's grabbing them and he's, like you make it like hot. Like you're like, oh, I want to be Veka. Like this is awesome. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. And at the same time, I mean, you said this, but it's just something that was so important to me that I loved is that she is still a very fit, active person. Like she is very strong.
Yes.
She can beat a lot of warriors in, her battles. And I think and she has to work for it too, right? Like,
Mhm.
what I I hate is like, you've got these wayfish FMCs who either like can't really fight or they learn to fight like immediately and you're like, okay, but like when did you have time to eat enough protein to develop the strength to wield a muscle, to wield a
No worries
sword?
about that.
Yeah,
Vika's always eating.
Yeah, like you do have to eat a lot of protein, okay, to build your muscles. So
exactly.
it's just like it's so realistic and it's so I think it's just a different side of being plus size that doesn't ever get represented, which
Mhm.
is that you can be plus size and still be active, still be fit, still be
100%.
strong. And so I love that too.
Yeah, I distinctly remember when I was writing this book that I was camping. I have a daughter, and I was camping with my best friend of 15 years, and she has a whole gaggle of children. And we escaped our children and our spouses to go get the firewood and ice. And she's plus size. But she is like the strongest person I know, like very dedicated athlete, always has been. And she's just like throwing around these like cords of wood and huge things of ice. And I'm like struggling over here. And I was like, you're my FMC. Like, you are her. You are her.
Love it.
And
Love it.
so I definitely like channel that. And right, that's it's part of Veka's story. Um, that having to be strong and why she trains her body and all these
Mhm,
things.
mhm.
Um, but it also, back to what you said, Nicole, right? Like her sexuality, like she does not question. Like she does not think like that she is any less. She
No.
knows she is not less. She
She's
is
a hot
more
piece of
and she is
tamale.
in your face with it.
She's like, I'm gonna wear this because it's hot and it's gonna distract people. Like,
And Erin is like frothing at the mouth. So
yeah,
it's clearly
yeah,
getting her what she wants.
yeah. So we've talked about kind of what went into creating Veka. Let's talk a little bit about the MMC, Aaron, because
Oh, Erin.
boy, is he a good MMC. He is so hot. He is described as being like very, very tall, which I love because Vega is also very tall.
Yes.
And he's definitely like dark and broody, but not like the same level of broody that you sometimes get with like, a classic enemies to lovers or something, like he is still like very direct, in what he wants and, what he's after. And yeah, so talk to us a little bit about Aaron, what went into, creating him, like what you think about him.
What do I think about him? I think about him a lot. That's the answer.
He is
As
your
you read.
ultimate man.
Right. My husband always jokes that like every male main character I write is based on him, which is like hilarious because my husband is like the cinnamoniest cinnamon roll ever. And Aaron is not really cinnamon rolly at all.
He's not a cinnamon roll. No.
He's
Like
an alpha.
dark chocolate.
He's literally an alpha. He's a wolf shifter, right?
Mhm.
And I his character is really built out of, and this I don't think is a spoiler, it's just how the worlds are built, right? In the elemental court where Vega is from, power is based on lineage, right? Like who you are and inheriting the throne comes down to where you're born in the hierarchy, right? And in his kingdom, the terrestrial fae, it's all about who's the most powerful. And he's the most powerful fae in thousands and thousands of years. And so really it started with that. It started with like what would it mean to be born into this world and like have this power that is unlike anything anyone has ever seen, and then to have to live with that. And so naturally he like puts up a wall, right? Because he can hurt people very
Mhm.
easily. And he shifts into this terrifying beast. And so he definitely has these walls up. But he's all about duty. He's all about what is best for the kingdom until he meets a certain one. And he's just all the things she needed. Um,
Mhm.
and so I think I don't know. He was not as clear to me when I started writing him. I had a very clear idea of who Vega was. But Aaron came later, but like stronger in some ways. Like he comes on really strong and he's great and he loves her so much. Um Obviously it's enemies to lovers. We know we're gonna end up in the lovers eventually.
It's romantasy. They're gonna
It's
end up
romantasy.
together.
He has to fall for her.
It wouldn't
Yeah.
be a romantic book if that didn't happen. Like,
Yes, yes, yes. But, she I don't think has ever met someone who is her equal. And he is in all these ways. And he's certainly never met someone who's his equal. And so they are just so well matched for each other in all these ways that come out as the books go on that I can't talk about.
Yeah.
oh,
And he challenges her and he sort of pushes her, but then when it matters, he supports her without being overly pushy, and I love that. And she is also not afraid of him. And I think that that's something
Yes.
that is so important to him, to not be feared for who he is, at his core, because he is so powerful. And so, if you guys can imagine, you've got the most powerful fae in centuries. You've got a super strong female character, and you've got somebody who shifts into a wolf, and you've got smut and spice. Just let your imagination.
I
Just
love,
go there.
I love how you guys, when you've described Aaron, you've just talked about all his like emotional internal strengths and not the fact that he's just like crazy hot, crazy tall, crazy muscly. Like,
With the man bun.
yes,
Oh
with
man, I
long
love a
dark
man
The
bun.
man
hair.
bun.
Oh,
Yes.
man bun. Yes.
Yes, I'm just here for it. Yes. I mean, right? I guess that's true, right? I did not want like I mean, I love Resand. We all love
Yes.
Resand, right? But like I was not looking for smooth talking, like I wanted a man.
Yeah.
Like it's a little bit more like Cassian, maybe. Like Cassian's a bit
Yes.
more rough
Yes.
around the edges.
Yes.
Like, no.
Yes, he's definitely rougher in every way. In all the best ways. And the wolf thing comes up in all the best ways. So
Very, very enjoyable. No, very
So
highly
if you
rated.
don't have a wolf kink by the time when you start this book, you probably will by the end of the series.
That is what
Fair
I'm
warning.
believing too, and it really works. I did not have one before the series, and I don't know if I would describe myself as having a wolf kink, but I'm also open to it.
A book is well written when you weren't into the kink and you're like, okay, that's different, but I'm kind of into it. Like, it's kind of
Yeah,
working for me. And so it's
yeah,
fine.
it's working for me good.
When I sent it to my editor at one point, I was like, a bestiality light? Like, I don't know if this counts. There's some things in here.
All right. I'm going to sidetrack to a slightly different question now,
Okay.
which is around the current books that you're maybe reading at the moment or the books that inspire you. So, what kind of books do you like to read when you aren't writing? Or have you got any books you're currently reading?
I read everything, fiction, nonfiction, biography. I really like World War II, like spy type stuff. And then I romance, all kinds of romance, dark romance, contemporary romance. I just finished my reread of Crescent City 2 a
Yeah,
couple days ago.
Yeah.
So
us
I
too.
will
Us too.
I will not be getting any work done next Tuesday. I just picked up this just came in the mail, Midnight Ruin, Katie Robert. I'm obsessed with
Ooh.
this series. This book just came out and I'm kind of like teetering on whether I'm going to start it um before Tuesday or whether I'll probably just be like comfort rereading things between now and then
That's all I can do.
I think
yeah,
it's like
I
it's all about timeline. It's like if you can get it read before Tuesday, yeah, sure. But if you're not like completely going to be finished with the book,
right.
just don't even start because
Yes.
Tuesday's going to come and you're just going to leave everything. Everything's just going to
Exactly.
stop. Life is going
Exactly.
to stop. The kids aren't going to get fed. They're just going to have to look after themselves for a few days because
Yes, pretty much. And when I'm writing, I find I generally don't read the things that I'm writing. So if I'm writing romantasy, I generally can't write, or if I'm writing romantasy, I can't read it right then. Just because I get like a little bit like caught up in the craft. I
Mm.
think about like how that author said it or how they introduced something, and then I'm not enjoying the book. So I try to read something totally different than what I'm writing, and then when I flip to my other pen name, I can switch back to romantasy.
that's awesome. So it's like a
That's a good
palate
yeah.
cleanser. You have like a palate cleanser while you're writing. You'll read
Yes.
something nonfiction or something.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have to do palette cleansers in my reading, but it's like once every 6 months, like not too often do I
I
shy
hate
away.
palette cleansers. I try and just read like a romance, and I'm just like, but I'm missing the fantasy. I need it back now. Like,
I know. I'm reading a straight romance right now, and honestly, it's good because it's just like light and easy, and that's all I can have before I dive into the SJM world. But I'm just like, okay, but like, where's the Fae? Where's the magic?
Where's
Like,
the magic?
yeah, like
no,
I
where's the
Where's a
giant
maiden
where's
Valkyrie?
bond
the
to entice the
shadows
heart of
while they're
sex?
banging? Like, come on, I need it.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
So
Yes.
you talked a little bit at the top or another point about that there's going to be 4 books in the series. Is that right?
Yeah.
So book 1 and book 2. Anything else you can tell us about the plans for the series? Release
Um,
dates, anything like that?
Release date. So book 3 is April 30th, 2024.
That's so exciting.
I know. I know.
I don't know how I can
Yeah.
wait that long.
I know it's wild because I'm in the middle of it right now, right? I'm in the middle of writing and it's intense. It's intense. I'll say that. It's intense. So 4 books are going to be Aaron and Veka's story, their main arc. And then there will be two spin-offs that will be standalones, I guess. Like they're going to be one complete romance arc of characters that already exist in the world.
Okay.
So we're going to get 2
Okay.
spin-offs that one to be released this year and one next year, release dates depending on how things go. But book 4 definitely this fall, bearing any or yes. So end of April for book 3 of Aaron and Veka, and then their last book sometime in the fall. So
I love it. I love a series that, you can get through in a calendar year. When it
yeah.
starts to span multiple calendar years, it becomes really anxiety inducing for us readers.
And it's a
Don't wanna
lot to
wait
keep
too
track
long till
of
it
as a writer.
ends.
So
Yeah, I bet. Okay, I think that wraps up our sort of interview portion. Nicole, any last interview questions
Well, I
before
only
we
had
move into
one more
game?
like priority question to ask because this is a really important question that
okay.
I absolutely have to bring up, which is about the spice scenes. So, what can readers expect from the intimate scenes? How spicy do you like to write your books?
Well, this is so hard because spice is subjective, right? Like what I think is spicy, other people are like, no, it's not spicy. And even you get the chili pepper ratings, and everyone's chili pepper rating is
Everyone's
different.
chili pepper is different.
Every
Even
chili,
Nicole and I have different ones. Yeah.
all the chili peppers are different. But there's chili peppers. There's on the page. There is a wolf tongue involved. There is you haven't gone to that part in book 2 yet, Nicole. You're welcome.
No, I have been I have read that part. It was yes, it was good. It was good. It was brought in a good way. I was really here for it.
Yes, there's I mean, basically when I was writing these books, because I write in another genre and it's not as spicy. And so everything that entered my head that I thought, wow, this is too dirty for my other pen name, I wrote it down and put it in these books. So that's kind of how it went. So yeah, I guess the spice is spicing. There's some pretty explicit language. They like to talk dirty to each other. They like to
Oh,
do it in all kinds of positions and all the ways
Location.
you can physically put things in other things.
yeah.
So,
We've often talked about spice and how you can kind of rate spice and you've got like your general 5-star spice rating, but then there's like different like there's dirty spice and there's
mhm,
really dirty spice and then there's kinky spice and then there's so many different ways you
like
can
the
go.
Spice Girls with spice. That's what it
Yeah.
sounds like. I like the
Exactly,
kinky spice.
exactly. This
Like,
is
it's like spice should have its own genre. We need to come up with like a genre system for spice. So that is something that Nicole and I are working on. And once we have it sorted out, we'll let you know. And then you
Yeah, okay,
can
so where do you put it on the spice rating? Because that's I have it in my own spice rating. Where do you put it in your spice rating?
So when I talk about spice for readers, I typically like to do comparable series because I just feel
Okay.
like that's the easiest way. So like in my mind, we've talked a lot about SJM here. A lot of our readers are SJM readers. I think, it's a paragon and
Yes.
Romantasy. I think
Yes.
it's more spicy than like Akatar, definitely more spicy than Throne of Glass, definitely more
Yes.
spicy than Crescent City. There hasn't been a lot of spice there. So it's like definitely more spicy than SJM,
Yes.
probably on the same like level of spice of Jennifer Armentrout, but maybe not as many scenes. Like with Jennifer
Mhm.
Armentrout, it's like anytime the door closes, they're
they're
doing it.
going for it.
I mean, I'm still reaching for that 10,
Right,
15
exactly. Like
threshold.
like Jennifer
So
Armentrout is where you get to the like 10, 12, 15, 20 like scenes.
yes.
So that's how I describe it. Is sort of like somewhere between under Jennifer Armentrout, but above the spice level
Yeah,
of
or I kind of
SJM.
say kind of like Court of Silver Flame because that's a pretty spicy one.
Oh, yeah, that
Like
It
makes
does
sense.
get spicier.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
around there. Like, but then kind of that kind of
But
mixes a little bit with
kinkier.
Jennifer Armentrout. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's
But
nice.
still kinkier than Silver Flames, you know?
Yes, yes, it's kinkier, but good kink. Like not weird kink, good kink. Like
Yeah.
it was all very enjoyable. And
Good.
but it was like 'cause we have discussed, look, personally, I think there's no such thing as too much spice. Yet I have read 1 or 2 books now where I've gone, yeah, okay, there was actually so much spice that the story got lost. And I think so it's got to be at around like 75%. And I think you've balanced it really nicely where there's heaps of spice and it's really enjoyable, but we still have story. We still have story. We still have the characters going
A
on a
good story.
journey,
Yeah.
things like that. It's they're blended really nicely together. I'm not getting overwhelmed and going, okay, this is like too spicy now. Like I feel like I never really say that, but it's definitely just that perfect, a little bit more than just kind of medium, but not so much that it's overdone. It's just the right amount. Goldilocks level, like spice.
Well, and right, you want something out of the spice, right? You want something for them as a couple out of
Yeah.
it, right? And so that's like another big piece, right? Is you're writing the spice, you're reading the spice, but like it's also moving them forward. And
Mhm.
so, yeah.
I think as women, for us to actually connect and kind of fall in love with characters, we have to go on that journey. We have to fall in love with them. And that's part of what gets our juices flowing, that we actually have a real attraction. You know, if it's just sex, we sort of don't really connect to it to that much. So we need to see that slow build, the journey they're going on, and then mix with all the spice. So
Yeah, I mean, in this book opens Crown of Earth and Sky, right? There's sex in the first few chapters, but it's not Aaron and Veka, and you don't really remember it, and you don't really care about it. And like that's like the a good contrast, right? For when you get later in the books and you see them together, and you're like, bam, okay, get it now. Yeah.
exactly. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So now we're going to move on to a little game that we like to
Oh,
play, which is called rapid fire questions. So, Emberly, the rules of this game, we are going to ask you, or I'm going to ask you, a series of rapid fire questions. What you have to
okay.
do is you have to try and answer them as quickly as possible. You have to just try and give a quick, short answer. I'll often give you two or three options to choose from, or sometimes you just have to try and give us a quick answer. But you can't go into too much detail. You can't give the because, you just got to answer it.
And
All
it's
right?
Okay.
torturous, okay? She does
Is
this to
it
me all
are
the
these
time,
like
and it's
personal
torture.
questions or like book questions?
Oh, no,
Book questions.
these are book romantasy,
Okay.
like kind of about
Okay.
your writing kind of questions. So
Okay.
it should be fun. All right. Do you want a sip of water or anything before we get started?
Yes. Okay. Good.
All right.
Thanks for
I'll take
warning
a
me.
sip of water. We've all got
Okay.
green bottles today, guys, just to see. I don't know why, but we've all just matched up because,
Yes.
yeah. All right.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
All
ready.
ready? Ready.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite type of MMC? Hero, morally grey, or a villain?
Morally gray.
Do you like a happy ending where everyone lives happily ever after, or a tragic ending that breaks the reader's soul into a million pieces?
uh, God. As a reader, I like the happily ever after. As a writer, I like to tragically break your hearts forever.
I love it. I love it. Okay. What kind of FMC do you prefer? Luscious curves and physically strong, or willowy and magical?
Luscious curves, obviously.
That was obviously an easy question. Okay. Will there be chocolate croissants in all your books?
Oh no.
Aww. Hopefully there'll be other good options. Okay. What do you think is the ultimate magical power a character can have?
Oh God. Moving from place to place.
Awesome. What are your ultimate MMC physical looks? Tall, dark, and rugged, or blonde, chiseled with piercing blue eyes?
Ooh, tall, dark, and handsome. 100%.
All the way. Okay. Who is your favorite romantasy author?
SJM.
Oh.
Yeah, probably. Ah, that's so hard. I shouldn't say that.
Best book to read on a rainy day?
Um, The Spanish Love Deception.
What is your favorite thing about the fantasy world you created?
That it's basically centered around badass women.
If you could bring something or someone from your book into real life, who or what would it be and why?
Paris, because he'd be my best friend.
Yes.
I could
Okay.
just
Do you prefer an MMC who is confident, funny, and roguish, or dark, angry, and mysterious with a tragic backstory?
dark, angry, mysterious. God.
I made it hard. I didn't make it easy to choose. Okay. What kind of villain is scarier? An evil, terrifying monster with no conscious awareness, or an intelligent, power hungry, sadistic, game playing villain?
Soulless monster for me. Afraid of the soulless monsters over here. Afraid of ghosts. So
Okay. What is the ultimate spice level? Mild spice, medium spice, hot spice, very hot spice, so hot you are dying, but if you're going to die, it's really a good way to go.
the top one. I love my top one.
10 out of 10.
A lot of
Okay.
fun.
Is it okay to kill off a main character?
Yes.
Okay, final question. What is the best romantic environment? Hot, humid, and tropical with luscious rainforest with a private waterfall, or wintry ice realm castle with a roaring fire and one bed?
Ooh, wintry ice realm castle.
Ooh, can't go past the one bed option. Gotta love that
No, I
too.
can't. I love a one bed, and if you ooh, this speaks to book 3 so perfectly. Okay,
Oh,
anyways, keep going. You have any more.
I love it. Yay, well done. You did it.
Yay! Okay, they're hard. It's like so torturous because you're like, I don't know, I have to pick something.
Well, and, like, my preferences as a reader are different than my preferences as a writer, so it's so hard.
I love when you're like,
Oh.
as a reader, I like a happy ending, but as a writer, I'm just like, no, I'm just going to torture my reader and like leave them
Yeah.
hanging and broken into a million pieces. Mind you,
Oh,
I secretly love that. Like, I feel like you say you want a happy ending, but you love, I don't know, I love being broken. I love being emotionally overwhelmed and in pain. I mean, that's
Yeah,
actually
you
what
have
I
to
live
work
for.
for it. I
Exactly.
mean, my
No
street
fun if it's
team
just
calls
no fun if it's just happy. Like you need it to be
Uh-huh.
some drama.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
street team calls me the queen of cliffhangers. And I like a cliffhanger. I like it to be tough. I love the like you'll get the happily ever after, but not till book 4. So prepare to be tortured along the way and like it.
you know, you don't actually the payoff isn't as good if there isn't torture along the way. So, all
Exactly.
right. Our last game is we are going to do a little fan casting of some of the main characters in
Yes.
this book to not give spoilers, but to just give you listeners a sense of like, what do these characters look like? You know, so you know what you're getting into. So Nicole and I are going to tell you our fan casts, and then Emberly will let us know if we're totally off the mark, if there's somebody else that she envisioned. This is so great because like I love this is my favorite thing in the world to hear when authors in interviews talk about like who they envision for characters because I don't know why but it like brings a character to life for me
Okay.
personally. So I'm
Yes.
excited. So we're gonna start with our main girl. All right, we're gonna start with Veka and then we'll save Aaron for last. So
Okay. Okay.
so
Darn
Nicole.
it. He's the only one I have like a concrete
Oh,
person for. All right. Can't wait
Oh,
to hear.
that's exciting. That's exciting. Okay, Nicole, who did you fan cast for Veka?
I have 3.
Of course you do. I have two. We never follow the rules.
We're a bit known to like last time we did this, it was like we're meant to choose one, and Ali's like, I've got 5. So 3's pretty good. I kind of threw one in last night. Okay, so the first person I picked, who is probably a little bit aged out, but she is just the ultimate curvy, luscious actor, and that is Christina Hendricks
Oh,
from
yes.
Mad
He's
Men. She is
beautiful.
gorgeous. Her face, she's stunning. She's got the curves and she just owns them. I know she's a little bit aged out though. I think she's like 40 something now. So she's a bit over, but I just had to bring her to this to be like she is just so gorgeous. So my second option is I think she's a model and she's called Tara Lynn. Now she was on Fergie, if you know Fergie, the I don't know singer, her MILF music
Oh,
video. Now, she was surrounded by all these Victoria's Secret models, and she is this luscious, curvy model, and she's just stunning. She's so freaking stunning. And she would just make a sensational Vega. She is gorgeous. Look her up. She's super beautiful.
okay.
Okay. And I've got one more that I thought of last night, which was kind of random. I was like, why didn't I think of this person? But this is a bit closer to home for me. Is my sister-in-law, Daniela Rose, who is a plus-size model, and she is ridiculously tall, right? She is 6'2". She is like Croatian
Yes.
background. She is stunning. She nearly got cast as, I know there's this really bad Netflix movie a couple of years ago called Tall Girl, and she was in California at the time, and she nearly got cast for that, but she was a little bit aged out. And but look, she's 6'2", she's curvy, but she's strong, and I'm actually just like, oh my God, she could totally do this. And she's really tall and strong. Like, anyway, so I'll have to show you a photo of her, but I think she would be a great number 3. So
Oh, I love that.
That's exciting. If you don't, it's okay if you're like sitting here, you're like, I did not know who those people were, because sometimes that happens to us too. And typically when we put this, like on YouTube, we'll like pop up a picture so people can
I've
see.
seen your Fourth Wing ones.
Yeah, yeah. So, but it's okay if you're like, don't know who that is, never met your sister-in-law.
Or otherwise, look on your phone
Yeah,
and,
we do
and
that a
get
lot
and
too.
get it that way.
Okay, I'm gonna give you three. I had two, but I do actually have three. One of them I wasn't gonna share because they're aged out, but I'm just gonna do it. So the one that I really love that is probably a little older, too old for this, is Gwendolyn Christie. She plays Brienne
Yes.
in Game of Thrones. She is
Yes.
tall, she is blonde, she is plus size,
Yes.
she's can do the action, all of that, but she's maybe a little. But with good makeup and effects,
And
women
she's
can
a
do anything.
badass.
She is such a badass. She would be
a
such a good
badass.
I can just like imagine her with like long white hair. It would be so good.
Yeah.
My second choice is Hunter McGrady, who is in Shrill, which is a show that Adie Bryant made. And yeah, so she's like a friend of Adie Bryant in the show. She's also naturally blonde, and so I like that as well. She models too. And then my top choice, and I feel like people are going to react to this and they're going to be like, no, this doesn't work. But I think it will work, okay? Is Shannon Purser, who plays Barb from Stranger Things. Have you watched Stranger
Oh,
Things?
yes. Yeah, I know who you're
I
talking about.
mean,
She's kinda got the
maybe?
glasses and
So she's like the friend who
Yes.
died really early in the first
Yes, in
season.
season 1.
In season 1, and and then she has another show that people just love her in, and she always plays like a comedian. And actually,
Uh-huh.
I will say, and this is really, I think this is interesting. It was very hard for me to find plus size actresses that I knew had the acting chops that also weren't just like associated with being comedians, right? Because like
Mhm.
plus size women always just have to be comedians. They don't get to be action heroes.
Mhm.
And so, I was like, you know what? Even though Shannon Purser has only ever gotten to be in comedies, she's a fantastic actress, and I think she could do so well. And she's like the right age, and she looks great. So
okay.
Yes,
that
I
she's
would
have
be
to show
beautiful.
you a picture of Tara Lynn because she is so
Okay.
freaking gorgeous. So hang on, let's see if I can bring my phone close
Oh
enough.
yeah, I can see that
Oh,
really
so
well.
She is
pretty.
so stunning. She is just like, as I said, she had a heap of Victoria's Secret models around her and she stood out. You were just like, whoa. I mean, she's so stunning. She's been in like Sports Illustrated, but she's curvy. She's like, and she's sexy to both women and men. Like, they're all turned on by her. Like, that's just a simple thing. I think she'd make a sensational baker. I'm not 100% how good her acting chops are because I think she's mainly a model, but I'm sure we can make it work. I'm sure we can make it work.
Yeah.
Now, did you
Okay.
have someone in mind for who you want to play Veka?
No, I don't. Vika's her own. For me, she was her own creation. And it's funny because I usually do fan cast, like when I'm outlining, I like fan cast my characters, but not Vika. She's her own creature very much. So, but I love yours. I'm going to be Googling all the ones I didn't know.
Yeah. Okay, let's do Paris next, which is like the best friend character. I'll go first. I have two people, as always. And this is after this, it stops my like multiple choices. Okay, then I only have one.
Okay.
So my first choice is Nicholas Galitzine, who is the blonde prince in Red, White, and Royal Blue on Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
He
this
just
is
has
hilarious.
that like best friend vibe. And then my second choice, and I don't know how I feel about this, but I don't know, I do feel like he can make it work, is Noah Centineo. I know he often
Ooh.
plays like a more like bad boy character, but I do think there is a part of Paris that's like a courtier, like they do have to
Mhm.
have that,
Got a little
they
edge.
have to be like besties, but they also have to be able to pull off like, I can go and like charm secrets out of people, and I do feel like Noah Centineo can do that. So
Oh my god. The
that
other
was
thing is like if Noah is cast, I'll start falling for Paris. Like I'll just be like, okay, there's like a lot of hotness here. And
I mean,
that wouldn't be a bad thing. Wouldn't be a bad thing.
yeah.
But
Okay.
Allie, what's hilarious about this is that this is one of my few that I actually had one for, and mine was Alex the Car Perez, who plays the other
The other person. Yeah,
Alan
the other person
in
from
Crime,
Blue.
Red, White, and Royal Blue, because he's got like that
Yes.
huge smile, and I totally see Pierce that way.
That's so great. I cast him as one of my like Xaden fan casts, but yeah, I really like him for Paris. That works really well. That's so funny. It's
Well,
so good, and they're both so good. They're both so attractive.
yeah.
Great
Yes.
movie.
Well, it's interesting. The
They are.
person I've picked is someone that we did for our Fourth Wing fan casting as well, and that is Gavin Casalegno from The Summer I Turned Pretty. He plays Jeremiah. He's good looking, but he's a little bit slimmer. Like, he plays that great. I think I cast him potentially as Bodhi in Fourth Wing, and I just feel like he's got that. He's good looking, but he wouldn't overtake the main male character. But he's very attractive. Kind of feels a little bit like, he's sort of a bit more open with his sort of sexuality, and I feel like he could play that really well because he does that with Jeremiah too. And I just feel like he'd bring a really good Paris. So, yeah.
I can totally see that.
Mhm.
Do you have anyone else, or is it
No, I think it's I was actually rewatching that movie the other day after we'd said we were going to do this podcast, and we had talked about the fan casting, and so now he's stuck in my mind forever.
That's great. Okay, let's do Kiara next. Love her. One of my favorite characters as well. Nicole, do you want to give your Kiara first?
Yes. Now, I hope I got the visual right, because I think she is redhead with blue eyes. I believe that is the right thing. So I went
Turquoise eyes,
for
yeah.
Sadie Sink from Stranger Things.
Oh,
So
I love Sadie.
she's gorgeous. She's got the red hair, the blue eyes, fair. I thought she'd play this character perfectly. I love her.
Love that.
Yeah, she would be, and I think she would really pull off like being able to say tough things, hold up the mirror to make it really well. My fan cast is Abigail Cohen, who is in the Winx saga, if anyone has seen that. She's like
Yes.
tall, willowy, very long red hair, and I like her for spoilery reasons that I won't say. But there's like something that happens with Kiara, and I feel like she would do that well because of her she already kind of has done like fantasy in the Winx Saga show. So
Love that. Love that.
did you have anyone in mind when you wrote Kiara?
I didn't, but the person that comes to my mind in general is Sophie Turner. For
Oh, yeah,
the
that's so good.
same type
Yep.
of reason, because she is played in obviously Game of Thrones, and she's for the same reasons, Allie, as you're thinking ahead.
Yeah,
There's
yes.
some big things coming. I think she would just play it so well.
I love Sophie Turner as Kiara.
Yes.
Like, love it.
Yeah.
Okay, next character is Lorena, and Lorena is like the best friend warrior character. So just for listeners, I also love Lorena. I end up saying that I love every character, but I do.
Down
Okay,
family,
so
you're supposed to love every character.
yeah, that's the point, right?
Right.
I selected Florence Pugh for Lorena, which may be, like, I don't know how people feel about it, but I think she would be so good because she's like strong and like golden skin and, a very good warrior. And I think Florence Pugh would do that really well. So that's my choice. What do you have?
I'm obsessed with Florence Pugh, so I'm here for this.
Yeah, like she could be in anything and I would love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. All right. I had someone else initially, and then I realized that they're quite sort of dark and Hispanic looking. And I was like, okay, that's not like Gina Casaru. I can't say her last name, Casaru, but she's like a full muscle woman. And I was like, oh, she'd be great, but she's not quite right. Anyway, I've gone with Cara Delevingne, because I feel like she plays a really good, like, beautiful, but she can be really strong. She's played fantasy before. She's a great actress. And she's kind of scary as well. She's like beautiful, but scary and tough. So I feel like she'd play that really well.
Did you have anyone in mind for Lorena?
I don't have anyone for Lorena. I really this is like kind of funny. I think of because it's not. I'm almost like afraid to say it because it's gonna ruin it a little bit. But like, do you know in Shrek? What's the guy with the Prince Charming character in I think it's like
Uh-huh.
Shrek 2. That's like the
Uh-huh.
male version of Lorena in my mind. Not personality wise at all. Like not personality, but like a stereotypical like golden child, like golden
Yes.
Prince Charming type character, but in
Yes.
female form.
But yes, absolutely. Yeah. I totally get that. I think Kara and Florence could do that. I think those are good choices. Okay, Gwen, who I also love. Nicole, did you pick someone for Gwen?
Okay, again, I hope I got like the right sort of what they're meant to look like, but I have gone with Jazz Sinclair from Generation V. So she is strong, she's beautiful. I think she'd just bring that different side of that darker side to like Guinevere. And yeah, I love her as an actress, and I think she would do an awesome job of like that character.
Okay, I'm really excited about who I cast for Gwen.
Mm.
I cast Zendaya.
Yes.
Ooh.
Because she has like raven hair and like darker
Yes.
skin and like golden eyes, and I just like can totally picture Zendaya with like gold contacts, you know, and
Oh,
really
I'll say
like
anything.
having that like feline grace.
Yes.
Like I don't know, I was really excited when I thought of that one.
Yes, that's such a good one. She's the right age too.
Yeah, totally. It's hard sometimes because like I'm older, obviously. I'm not 25. Wish. And so
Normal.
like I don't always know the actors and actresses that are 25. So like all of mine are like usually a little bit older.
Yeah, or you'll go like, "Oh, they're
Yes.
not that old," and then you'll be like, "They're 35," and you'll go, "Oh, okay.
No.
I was thinking they were 25," because, you know,
Yeah.
not long ago, right?
Yeah,
They
yeah,
were 25 when I
mine
was 25.
yeah, mine is not age appropriate. But Kerry Washington, as she is in like
Yes.
Scandal, like
Yeah.
Yes.
badass.
Yes.
But again, she's aged
Tough.
out, but like I don't care. I want her.
Take no prisoners, just like yes,
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
Check out, if you haven't seen Generation V, which is on Prime, Jazz Sinclair is amazing. And you've
I'm
recommended, I
excited.
think, her casting Allie back for Rhiannon
Rhiannon.
in Fourth
Mhm.
Wing.
Yeah.
She's awesome. She's badass. She plays like a really strong character in Generation V with like powers, and, you know, she's physically strong as well, and she's beautiful. I think she would play an awesome Gwen as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
last
the
one,
man of the
MMC.
hour, Aaron. I secretly think Nicole and I might have picked the same person.
Oh, I'm
So
so
Nicole, I'm gonna
excited.
have you. Oh, you have 2? Okay, I only have 1. I
Okay.
kept it down to 1.
Should I like cover my face? I feel like
Yeah.
I should like not give things away.
Not give it away. Okay, Nicole, who have you picked for Aaron?
Oh, well, it was a tough choice for me, but I've stuck to some favorites because Aaron is just he's your typical beautiful, tall, dark, handsome, rugged MMC. And there are only 2 actors I can think of that I would want to play this. Okay, the one that is extra rugged is Jason Momoa. He is big, tall, muscly, rugged, aggressive. He could bring that wolf side out. Like he's almost half wolf already. So you could just see he's got the man bun going on. Like he's just made for it. Like he's just made for it. But I also have my favorite, my all-time MMC. He's nearly always my MMC for everything, and that is Henry
I
Cavill.
feel like I know
Because
what's coming.
how
Did
can
you
he
say
help
Henry
me?
Cavill?
Yes.
I knew that's what you would.
Okay, this is a side note and a tangent. Have you guys seen the trailer for Argyle, which is
Yes.
like that spy movie that's coming out
Yes.
that
Yes.
Henry Cavill is in? He looks so ugly in the trailer. Like, what the heck?
How is that haircut? I didn't think you could make Henry Cavill look bad, and then they put that haircut on him, and it's like, what have you done? Bring the Witcher
What
back.
have you done to resand? What have you done to resand? Like, okay,
Yeah, see,
that was
I
a side
definitely
note.
see him as more of a Resand character.
Yeah. Okay, so I love Jason Momoa. I think that's a great. I'm really surprised you didn't pick this person. I picked this person.
Oh.
this is a true classic. And again, he probably needs to put on a little more muscle, which is fine. But I have chosen Jacob Elordi, my favorite, my all-time my all-time favorite. He's got the height, he's so tall, and he's, like, dark and brooding, and, so
Oh.
Jacob Elordi is who I have fan cast. Okay, how on or off were we, in our choices?
Okay, so there's one person who's always in my head. Always. Always in my head. Whew. It's Jason Momoa for
Yes, yes.
he is like oh man. I'm like gonna fan myself. I just love the man. I
Yeah,
love the man. He's what I picture. He's it for me.
yeah,
Like
it's a great choice.
He's got the man bun, he's big, he's muscly, he's good looking, he's kinda animal-y, like,
yeah.
oh, ever
It's
since
just
we first saw him on Game of Thrones, like, I was just ready to turn Dothraki and just, like, live
right?
happily ever after, like
And if you ever hear I think they're divorced now, Lisa
I
Bonet or whatever,
know.
they're not together anymore, but if you ever hear him talk, like, in earlier interviews about, like, how much he like, the way he felt about her, I was like, "Oh, oh, oh,
Oh
stop,
my god,
be
I
still my
know.
heart."
And they had
But I feel like Aaron gives that energy, like, he is,
Yeah.
like you said, kind of wild and, like, wolf I mean, he's a shifter, right? And but then the love, it just, like, knocks you down.
oh my gosh, can you imagine Amelia and Jason Momoa, like, hooking up? Like, that would just be insane. Like, the chemistry that was between those 2 in that, and then
Yes.
he saw them be friends afterwards, but, like, because they're obviously he was married and stuff, but, oh, he's single. Not that I'm married, you know, I can't a girl can dream, a girl can dream.
A girl can dream. Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think that is all we have time for today. That is the end of our show. Thank you so much for joining the podcast, letting us ask you crazy questions, do hard rapid fire questions. It was so fun. If you guys have not checked this out, please go look up Crown of Earth and Sky by Emberly Ash. The second book is called Throne of Air and Darkness. And then what's the third book comes out? You said April 30th. And what will that one be called?
Court of Vines and Vipers, and
Ooh, I like the alliteration.
yes, it's gonna be great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is so fun. My, like, cheeks hurt from smiling, and I'm overheated from thinking about Jason Momoa, so
Need a cold
and
shower.
I'm hungry for a chocolate croissant, so
Successful Romantasy Readers podcast.
That's what we're all about. Now,
Yeah.
quickly, if people wanna go and get your book, what is the best way for them to access your books?
Amazon, they're Amazon exclusive. They're because they're in Kindle Unlimited. But if you are in the market for a paperback, they will be available very soon through Barnes and Noble as well.
Ooh, okay.
Yay, I'm so
I'll have to add that to
excited.
my list. Yes, that's
Yeah.
exciting. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day, Emberly, and thanks for listening, guys.
Bye.